Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth Erbrecht with Conversations on Death and Dying, the video show for people who want to talk about death, don't want to talk about it, and everything in between. So, as you guys have probably noticed, I have sent out a couple emails about my Living Will group program that I'm offering in February. And my mother made a comment to me the other day that for her, and she actually posted this on Facebook under one of my videos, was that the living will not so much was for what she wanted for her body, but to be able to give my sister and I the freedom to not have to make the decision and to sort of lift the burden of that because she's making that decision and we don't have to have that stress of, well, what do we do with mom in this situation, right? And I thought it was a really good piece of information because I've been coming at it as in, what are your wishes, right? And I know that it's also the other side of the story of the person that you're having that conversation with, your loved one, your spouse, your child, your cousin, your best friend, whoever you choose, then they don't have that burden of figuring it out and going, oh my God, we never had this conversation. I don't know what to do with mom or dad or grandpa or whatever. I don't know what to do. And instead of going, oh, look, we had this conversation. Here's the living will. This is what we do. And it got me thinking. I thought about it the rest of the day, and I realized that actually I got to witness in my own personal life what my mom and her brothers went through when my grandmother died. And I don't share a lot of my personal experiences with you guys because they're just not really part of too much. They're part of my story, but there was no big dramatic event. Because I've had people ask me, well, why are you doing this work? Did somebody close to you go through something traumatic and you do this work? And I've always just been comfortable with it. And I don't have this big story to tell, but I realized that I have an experience that I can share with you guys when it comes to not having living will and what happens to the loved ones when they're trying to figure out what to do with their loved one when they haven't had that conversation. My grandmother died when I was between 9th and 10th grade of when I was in high school. And she had actually declined very rapidly. She was very healthy, very robust woman, and didn't have any health issues. And she fell on Super Bowl Sunday, had some sort of surgery on my birthday in March, and then she passed away that summer. So it was just a really fast decline. And I remember being in the background, watching my mother and her brothers walk through this journey. And they never had the conversation with their mother what kind of treatment she would like, what if she wanted treatment, if she didn't want treatment, even to the point where never discussed if she wanted, what kind of funeral she wanted and what kind of end of life planning she wanted. There was never any of that conversation with her. So there was a lot of distress and underlying level of stress that was going on in the family because no one ever talked about it. And so something that my mother and my uncles did after my grandmother died is they sat down with their father and said, Dad, we don't want to go through this again. We need to have this conversation. And my grandfather was not one to talk about these things, but they encouraged him and they did have a conversation. And so when my grandfather died, it was a better transition. There was a smoother transition. There wasn't an underlying extra level of stress of we don't know what to do with dad. So that I realized that story might help you guys understand that sometimes filling out your living will might not necessarily totally be for you, but it will be for your loved ones who then have a understanding and a little bit calmer process in what to do with you when something happens. So that's my story for you guys this week. I encourage you to think about, if you don't have a living will, if you need to redo your living will, review it, to click on my link And my program is just $35. I send you the paperwork for the state that you live in. And then you can sign up to be in one of the 2 groups or more. I have to create more to have a small group experience with questions and processing of what it is to fill out your living will. And you get to do that with me personally. So click on the link. I'll talk to you guys next week. This is Conversations on Death and Dying, the video show. Sorry for people who want to talk about death, don't want to talk about it, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.